Hello and welcome back to the Airfix YouTube channel. On the bench today is a truly iconic aircraft of the Second World War, the Heinkel He111. This version is a little different from the standard bomber. It's configured for anti-shipping duties, equipped to carry torpedoes. The variant we're building today comes with a distinctive loadout of twin torpedoes and a classic camouflage scheme, offering a striking look once complete. All necessary parts for the forward fuselage and cockpit assembly are identified and cleaned up. The build begins with preparation of the internal cockpit components. Assembly begins with the left fuselage half, starting with the internal framework and instrument panel. These are secured using extra thin cement, allowing the adhesive to flow neatly into the gaps. Two bulkheads are then installed in the fuselage, located by precise alignment points. Once these are in place, the bomb bay floor is positioned into its slot, followed by the final bulkhead at the rear. The pilot seat is added to the front cockpit section, locating cleanly onto two pins. With construction of the internal framework complete, painting begins. The dark grey is airbrushed in a controlled manner, allowing some black primer to show through the framework for added depth. Though much of this interior will be hidden in the final build, subtle shading techniques still enhance realism. Most interior elements are painted in a uniform dark grey. While there are a few detail areas requiring colour variation and decals, the dominant tone is consistent throughout the interior sections. A dry brushing technique follows using light grey acrylic. This picks out raised edges and surface detail on the interior walls and components. It's a small touch, but it brings life to what could otherwise be a flat surface. With the interior painted, the fuselage halves are brought together. At this point they are dry fitted, only to assess alignment. The fit is excellent, with no warping or twisting, and once satisfied, extra thin cement is run along the seams for a clean, strong bond. Once set, the seam lines are sanded using 180 grit paper, gently blending them into the fuselage. Pin marks from alignment pegs are also removed. Where surface detail is lost, it will later be rescribed. Seam polishing continues using progressively finer grits until the plastic regains its smooth finish. Seam removal is especially important at 1/72nd scale, where imperfections stand out more visibly. Attention now returns to the forward cockpit and floor. Control foot pedals, side consoles and the seat assembly are carefully constructed. Rather than painting components individually beforehand, the assembly is installed directly into the fuselage and painted in place. This approach provides stronger bonds and better alignment. Small touch-ups with black paint are used to define controls and handles. The undercarriage bay sub-assembly is constructed next. 4 parts form a box-like structure, painted in grey-green. These are aligned carefully to match the wing contours and glued securely. Once the bays are in, the wing assembly begins. The upper wing halves are aligned and glued to the fuselage first, followed by the lower wing panels. Fit is generally excellent, though minor sanding is required at the wing roots to remove small steps. Ailerons and flaps are installed at this stage, followed by the tailplane. The rudder and elevators are deflected slightly to give a realistic ground stance. The engine is assembled and glued to the wings. Gaps at the join lines are filled with glue, which doubles as both filler and adhesive. Once secured, seams are sanded back flush and polished. Radiator intakes and covers are installed underneath. These components fit tightly and are carefully blended into the surrounding surfaces. Exhaust mounts are added at this point, but the stacks themselves are left off to be fitted after painting. Primer is applied across the fuselage to inspect seam quality. Minor flaws are corrected before proceeding, and the overall result is a smooth, clean airframe ready for masking and painting. The glazing on the He111 is extensive. The aircraft is essentially a flying greenhouse, with a full glass nose, ventral gondola and dorsal turret. Each piece is test fitted carefully. Clear parts are glued progressively, starting with the front canopy, followed by the navigator's glazing, nose blister and under fuselage gondola. UV resin is used to fill tiny gaps and blend edges seamlessly into the fuselage. Scratches from sanding are polished out using multi-stage polishing compounds. Interior frames and instrumentation are added before the forward glazing is sealed. Some masking is left off intentionally to allow airflow and prevent dust build-up inside the cockpit. With all glasswork installed and masks, attention shifts to pre-shading and camouflage. A base layer of black is applied, followed by white or grey primer, sprayed lightly into panel centres to create tonal variation beneath the final colours. The upper camouflage consists of 2 tones of dark green, separated by soft edges. This requires multiple rounds of masking to preserve the underpainting beneath each colour layer. The lower surfaces are painted in a pale blue. Airbrushing is done at low pressure, allowing each colour to build up gradually. The result is a subtle modulation effect that mimics light play across the aircraft's skin. After drying, a gloss coat is applied to protect the paint and prepare for decals. Factory stencils and unit insignia are applied next. Due to the scale and dark surface, some very small decals are skipped as though it had been invisible once sealed. Once all decals are set, a satin clear coat is used to blend them into the paintwork, followed by a final matte finish. The result is a realistic surface that maintains contrast while avoiding an overly glossy sheen. With the masks removed, the canopies reveal clean, sharp frames and crystal clear glazing. The risk of sanding and polishing the clear parts paid off, integrating them beautifully into the airframe. Undercarriage parts are now painted and installed. The struts are fragile, so superglue is used to ensure a secure bond. Once assembled, they are strong enough to support the model, even with its twin torpedo loadout. Gear doors are fitted and flat spots are added to the tyres to simulate weight. Tail wheel and its white wall decals are added next. Torpedoes are painted and installed under the fuselage. The mounting brackets were added earlier. Exhausts are fitted and weathered with pigments and airbrush effects to simulate engine staining. Propellers, painted dark green with white spinners, are assembled and attached. Subtle chipping and metallic dry brushing add a worn look to the blades. The final components, dorsal turret, pitot tubes, aerials and hatches, are painted and fitted. Glue and glaze is used on clear parts to prevent fogging. With everything complete, the Heinkel He111 torpedo bomber is finished. The model has a commanding presence despite its 70-second scale. The twin torpedoes, detailed cockpit and glasswork give it a very dynamic appearance. This kit isn't for beginners. The glazing alone requires patience and careful fitting, however the results are rewarding. The build demonstrates the importance of clean construction, careful masking and subtle paint modulation. Thanks for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe and let us know in the comments what kits or techniques you'd like to see next. We'll see you next time.